Chodan zoge jonana janju bado dani kyaso chi dagi chonye gebe sonang rona benje songen ruba jo Chodan zoge jonana janju bado dani kyaso chi dagi chonye gebe sonam ki rona songen ruba Adon la me da me wan ji yong mo da wan jia jian lao dou jue jian zhou le. Jia wo jia wan dong cang jie song ba zhou dou jie jian jian bian zhou zhou ba jia da tang jie dan bian chu nian jie nian. Jie jie jie. Ba ye gia dang lu dang niu jian ge zhi wong da dang mi ye gia dang. Zhou wa kun jie zhang dang jie zang ba tang jie ge tong da ge ju lian dou. Lama lozang tongwang doje chang yapse yuwa jebe tujen chi dadang doju jeba tadagi hiju chudang jeba jenje lo. Landila ya. Tēyā chīkyā tō, nyāngā tāntā, pāṅgā pāpā lūdhū kī sōng lē. Gyāwā ndī gyāwā kā sūnāṃ yīshī tsō tsō hīn, sūnāṃ yīshī lē chō mā tāmbā kuñyā tāpā chō. Sōmbā nā hīn kī. Āni, rāngdhūn chūku tā. Āni, hiendhūn sōku nī. Āni, rūyā kī hī. 아니 장조가 쓴다. 아니 데서 너무 동반이지. 전화 써봐도 야고 쟁예고가 임바래.
So as in the dedication prayer of Nagarjuna, due to this accumulation, the accumulation of merits and the accumulation of wisdom, may I be able to achieve the two exalted bodies. That's the way it works with bodhicitta, perfecting the accumulation of merits, and with the profound, the understanding of the profound emptiness, perfecting the accumulation of wisdom. And in turn, these two perfections, or these two accumulations, are resulting into the two exalted bodies as the final result, the body of form and the wisdom body, or the Dharma body. So in this way, right away from the beginning, we are advised to combine the two practices of bodhicitta, universal responsibility, and the understanding, profound understanding of emptiness.
아니지 샬롭 나네 뒤치 샬롭 사바가 나네 다 쳐도 저반다 근데 반대 나와다 거지 반대 나와다 비장 된다 송요 공도되니 효양 가고 지조가 안배 제보되니 저 안반디 안바이 안바이 된도 다니 개위 롱게 쇼도지 제비연데 자소 바로 초don로 숨받는 힘. 단대 가르송 비하래서는 공조세도 탑 장주가 쓴다. 디니세도 히라동반인 송고요. 그러나 자쇼관인된지 아니지 나갈래 핀로지 아니 토반내봐 로와 내시 제외연대 용소도 도배 파루도 저가 잡아리야 장주가 쓴다 양답에 따원이거든 메타 매버지 그건 되네.
And as well as this is supported by quoting the most important follower or propagator of the profound view as of Nagarjuna, Chandrakirti, which in his verse, in one of his verses, he calls conventional. He quotes the conventional, that is the conventional, and he quotes the thusness, or that very. So for conventional, that conventional refers to the practice of bodhicitta, in terms is what allows you to perfect the accumulation of merits. And thusness refers to the ultimate, the view of emptiness, how these two should always be combined in your practice as method and wisdom. They always go together, just as a bird, in order to fly the sky, needs two wings. One is not enough. So with the aid of the two wings, it can soar the sky. So in the same way, in order to cross the ocean of the perfection of the teachings of Buddha and to reach the final attainment of being enlightened being, so you definitely need both throughout your practice, the combination of balanced combination of method and wisdom.
Melu Rinpoche de Dene Cholado Masoma, Ningbochi Lanko Sana, Ani Ji Jiangsu Sunda, Ani Tombani Kutonia, Nyamne Majeva Tapi Mavdi. So
therefore, if upon considering the preciousness of this life, of having a human body, and you are concerned on not wasting away this very limited time that you have, and you are interested, therefore, into extracting a meaningful essence out of your life. So these two, the practice of bodhicitta, the method, and wisdom, profound emptiness, are indispensable. There's nothing else more important than these two in order to at least spend your life in a meaningful way.
Angaranto che pigeci Melu Rinpoche Deme Cholado Masoma, Ningbochi Ningyaba de Lango Yori, Ani, Ningbo Lambalia, Ani, Taki Quanto Shiva Nankin, Tapi Ning Kone, Ningbo Lane, Ani, Chuzu Kuni the Ru Yori.
So therefore, since I believe we are all interested in not wasting our life and into extracting a meaningful essence out of it, for us it is at most important to concentrate on the two accumulation of merit and wisdom, and that is bodhicitta, or universal responsibility, and the understanding of emptiness. So it is in this way, by way of practicing these two, that your life becomes meaningful and is not wasted.
Ji Chusu Kuni de Rudang, on the Payabo, the Shambache, and Shambe Tole, and near Shandoni, and if Jusul Dagijan, and Jusul Hamadakan, Yavade, and Dig Tole, Tangi, and Joy Shome, and Chusu Kuni Tobi Chado, and Tangi, and Yawayar.
The causes, method and wisdom, the two accumulation of method and wisdom, are related to the causal practices that you conduct in order to achieve a result. The result is to become an enlightened being, and that is by way of achieving what we call the two exalted bodies, the body of form, the emanation body, and the Dharma body, or the wisdom body. So these two, in turn, are fruition of, one side, the method for the emanation body and the wisdom for the Dharma body. Therefore, in your daily life, whatever time you can carve out of your daily activities, as much as you can, make sure that you use it in order to achieve this to fruition, the two bodies. So in order to do that, you need to, first of all, at the feet of your teacher, whoever is your teacher, go and listen on the topics of the two bodies, of the resultant state of the Buddhahood, how that comes about, what needs to be done in order to achieve it, and so on and so forth. And then, as much as you can, you try to practice diligently during your daily life, with how much time left you have there after your daily activities.
년년에 견뎌지 고래서나 아니 탑장주기 쓴다 아니지 아니 셔럽 동반이 온데서 양년을 좀 봐자오 뒤쳐등이 최소유 삼아라 어딘데 전에요.
So now, in short, in order to wrap it up, for the benefit, thinking this way, for the benefit of all sentient beings, in order to liberate all sentient beings that are my mother from the suffering of cyclic existence, to establish them to supreme enlightenment, I myself alone must achieve the supreme enlightenment, must become an enlightened being in order to help all sentient beings. Therefore, whatever are the causes and the conditions that I need to acquire in order to perfect the accumulation of merit and wisdom, I'm going to practice it. And in order to do so, this is why I'm here now to listening the profound Mahayana teachings. So in this way, shape up your motivation.
제가 강사모 제비 표지 참들이야. 아니 니가 싫어지고 화통을 납수라. 숨 강사게 다음에 대난다. 표지 다음에 대난다. 대래 화통 제수로 숨. 사제 숨제. 다산제 사제 당보 강사게 다음에 대난 배바 대리야. 난시가 사제 니제. 냠야 난카다고 종수단 제토 유마다비 종수로 사제니제 다 냠야 난카다비 종수 될이야 아니 사제 난시가 사제 이게잖니 각장 예배네 처방 예배네 댐베 직전 예배네 댐베 도장 예배네데 아니 사제 희제 어떤데요 단데네 내가 나네 각장 예배네데 켜서 편체 조위 퀴 안데 얘네야 언제 공정에다 지냠내 정인지이나 자도 다야 야고 지친 어딘데 지잖아 야고요래 다등에 시아바디 장장리 참마샤바체 아니야 딜이야 차라마사 저버된데 다저 가리 유메 원데서 강로야 질 계셔티 야 지구 해주면도는 양질을 계셔티 운도 시전에 다 차상원지 소소소
Trin di George ki taran shoge kuntu kangolo nando de gajang ne ki kollachi konja
konja
So now, as for the subject matter of these teachings, the context is the graduated path to enlightenment, what we call Lam Rim, and among the three scopes is the individual of higher scope, and among that the section of the perfection, the sixth perfection, generosity, and so forth. Particularly the last section with the two topics of the perfection of concentration and perfection of wisdom. We have seen the perfection of concentration, how to develop calm abiding, and so forth. Now we are at the section of wisdom that in generally is called spatial insight, the topic of spatial insight. There are three main, basically, how to train in the spatial insight is in three main categories or outlines that we've seen: establishing the substances of person, the substances of phenomena, and the actual method of developing spatial insight. So now, for the first, establishing the substances of a person is into two. The first topic relates to during the actual meditation session, during meditative absorption, that is called the space-like realization. And the second is during the post-meditative period, viewing phenomena like an illusion. So now, again, for the first, the cultivation of the space-like realization is into four. There are the four important points. The first is recognizing the object of negation that has to be negated, that self that has to be negated. So we covered this subject yesterday. Here Rinpoche made a point, do not be satisfied with only these teachings. This is a subject, even just the first, recognizing the object of negation, that requires a lot of personal inquiry and study as well. So find out whatever in the yesterday explanation was missing, and whatever needs to be added as well. This is something that you should do it on your own. This is your own research project. So therefore, this is a topic that requires lots of attention and lots of inquiry as well. Ask also other teachers and other people who are knowledgeable, make questions, and keep thinking and meditating about it. I have presented to Rinpoche a message from Venerable George that you had a meditation on the substance, on recognizing the object of negation. Rinpoche said that's exactly what should be done. And it is very good you have done this, you have to keep doing it. So first, the first topic, we have covered it yesterday.
Medo mero manjire. Sanga yene, dini medo mero manjire. Sanga liya. Janchu ke se mena, sanga ki chu kende ji drone, ani ji, tiba chimbe chule, rogu ya mare. Tiba chimbe chule rogu ya mare. Da janchu ke sim xie gu ya ke ne duen dire. Ani, tongpa ni ke duen dine, da, tong ni ke duen dine, da tongta ba song le. Tongpa ni tu chu zingen de mangpo ju ya re. De so kab li ya, mi ka lo namo tebe du ya ya ma re. Di kwa tiongda de, ji cha changi yu na yan da, me na yan da, do si sang lu dang je. Do si che, cha changi do men to te, cha changi men to na ya, yan da zane, ka so je, do si che ju re.
So now, what we have been doing for the last at least couple of years with all these teachings I've been giving here on the Lamrim and so many subjects. What is the main point that we need to wrap up over here is the two, bodhicitta, the practice of bodhicitta, and emptiness. No matter what kind of practicing you are engaging with, these two are always indispensable. So that's why these are the most indispensable component of your practice to develop. Let's say even if you're practicing exclusively on the sutra path, bodhicitta and emptiness are indispensable. If you practice the secret mantra, without bodhicitta, it doesn't even become Mahayana path, leaving aside secret mantra. And without emptiness, you go nowhere. Without the correct understanding of emptiness, you go nowhere in your practice, especially in the secret mantra practices, constantly and all becomes emptiness from within emptiness and so on and so forth. Leave it just to the phrase that you look and recite in your practice. That is definitely not enough. That when you get to that point, is right then that you should implement whatever understanding you have gained out of the teachings in your study on emptiness and reflect upon it right then, to come down as much as possible according to your understanding capabilities to the right point. If you see that your understanding on that particular subject is not that perfect, is not that clear, is not complete, then go to someone who knows better than you and ask, inquire about, read the text, study, think about it, and as your daily practice, whenever you get to the point, is that you have to implement the thought of emptiness and so forth. So these two, bodhicitta and emptiness, these two practices, are really the essence of what I've been taught, teaching here in the last couple of years.
Ayang kare juni katsu gomne ani chi lamru droya meba ku zonda baji piki chi o tende yongju yare dosoli ya ayang gise bondo nda batende ta ani kunjolo so tabiya nda batende ki lamru chi yare an jangwa lama tonga ba chimbe cha tende songsha nyena tsimizin nyena katsu nyen ka jane tsimizin bache tsimizin Sangna Tönno Go, Gomna Yula Mijevi, Loyi Tu Hindu, Chungi Duso, Yingi Tula Temba Mengai. Da Hiansong, Niana Tsiki Yabuji, Masimbachi, Sangna Tönno Go, Ani Gomla Gongha Jane Yula Mijevi, Ani Loyi Tu Hindu, Chungi Duso, 아니 잉기 톨레 땜바 맹아이 잉기 톨레 땜바 맹아이 시아디 가라르잖아 잉초 담바 예전 나마라 송디 아니 잉 아니 초도 줘봐디 단디레 라마 디리 토보요레 나란토게 줄리아 디파데 디포 토보시라요레 아니 라마레 소아다 아니 팽이요.
And at times when you might be thinking that you are engaging in a very strenuous and intense listening, in a very intense reflection and meditation as well, but nothing seems to happen. There is a verse from Rinpoche, when I hear, means when I listen to the teachings and I cannot grasp the sentences, when I reflect and I cannot penetrate the meaning, and when I meditate and there is no change in my mind, at times like that, when the mind is fatigued and has trouble, is right then that you need to rely on the instructions of the Supreme Merit Field. What this means is, like when we do Lama Chopa, the initial verse of the stages of the path, Shincho Tampa Jetsun Lamala, that means the Supreme Field, the Supreme Field, the capable, qualified Lama. So that is the supreme field. At times like that, you need to concentrate your effort of purification and accumulation of merit, having as supreme field the Lama itself. So point is, the negativities and obscuration we have accumulated since beginningless time are very thick and very coarse. So that requires a very intense practice of purification that should be carried out constantly. Otherwise, even the very meaning of the word is going to be difficult to come about. So, but that doesn't mean that is the Lama who takes you through the path. And as to quote from Buddha Shakyamuni, I'm revealing you the Dharma that is the path for liberation. Whether you achieve liberation or not is up to you. That means that you yourself alone has to go through the hardships of practicing, of purifying and accumulating merits. It's not that the Lama takes you from where you are now to the realization. Realization come about on the basis of your own effort, depending how much effort you put into it.
Oh, those are it.
Long, Kasan. Long.
Kasan di Namana. Oh,
Gomjaya Teri. Long.
Nambi in Bare. On the Awayori, Gaujang Evineti, Gauja di Awo, Jimangan, Annie, and take out in Nagadin Wama Chimbache, Annie, Nyora Yori. Gauja di Awo, Jingabache.
So I'm definitely pleased to know that this morning you have meditated on the subject I explained yesterday, on recognizing the object of negation. This is a crucial point. If not, this recognition is not done accurately, then there are lots of shortcomings deriving from that, of not finding the correct negation. So this is an important point. You have meditated this morning. This is very good. It's the way it should be done. So the second is the important point of pervasion, or here in the text is the key point of determining the range of logical possibility.
Dande Kelsa, more Devon Nanking, on Tinde, Annie, Nanzin Henge, Zumi, Nati, ranking you true, Yuna, ranking you true, Yuna, again, the motive, ranking you, Kuna, Tutu to Trubang, ranking you true, Yuna, to the Yuna, Annie.
So this point refers to the range of possibilities that if, as we went through the subject yesterday, a self possessing characteristics such as being inherently existent or existing on his own side, that means a phenomena that exists inherently or from his own side alone. It means that it's something that doesn't come about, doesn't come into existence based on some other conditions or relying upon something else. It's there by itself, from his own side. So if such a self as we normally perceive to be, if such a self exists in that way, you have only, so the range of possibilities, okay, or the point of pervasion, you have only two choices. It is whether one with the aggregates, that is the basis of the very self, it is either one with aggregates or is something else, totally different, and other than, it is different. So there isn't a third possibility. Is either, if it's a self that is inherently existent, since the self is posited on the aggregates, is either the same as the aggregates or is different, is something else, separate from the aggregate.
다시 폼보다 뭐 찍도 줘요래. 뭐 찍다 타제 강론도 주고.
So this is exactly what you
진행
should ask.
강론에 현대 풍송반은 메시. 야나 찍도 주고 야나 타제도 주고.
So this is the type of inquiry you should put on this phenomena once you have found it, right? First is recognize the object of negation. Okay, that's the object of negation. As the self, it appears to have such and such characteristic. So therefore, is he one with the aggregates, such as the same as the aggregates of body and mind, or is it different? Or is there another possibility? Is there another choice? If it's not these two, is there another choice that maybe it must be something else?
견제 랑기 랑리야 추토링에와 선에 면도 랑긴 주주에 나지 유나 나지 유바 이나 아니 풍보 랑긴지 주게 지당 타제 강롱리 왜매바 강다 풍보 랑긴지 주발에 지당 타제 강롱리 왜매바 지레디오리 왜매 왜매바 지레디오리 풍보다 랑긴지 주비 지당 타제 강롱리 왜매바 지레디오리 디니 강롱레 매나 디니 강롱레 매나 집도에 매 타대도에 매바 이나 다 랑킨 주주베가 선나에 면도 랑wen 주주베가 선나에 면도 단데 패체 디니 강로레 매나 단디르 디니 강로레 매나 내 친체 아니 다 랑킨 주주베 나고 매바 패체 타펴
Digni nemmeno?
Digni nemmeno?
Che mere sono?
네, che mediche sono.
Long. Long. So, therefore, okay, let's say we are reflecting, like meditating on this, right? So if this self, this particular self, we have been trying to identify the self that normally appears to the consciousness that is I, or what we call I. And in this terminology we call true grasping or I grasping and so on and so forth. That is characterized by being inherently existent, or whereas you can call it naturally existent, existing from his own side. So if this I, it is there, it cannot be definitely something that is neither of the two. That means neither one with the aggregate or separate of the aggregate. There is not a third possibility. Then let's check if it's one with the aggregates, and you check whether it's one with the aggregates. If you find out, well, it's not one with the aggregates, so what is left there, it must be something separate from the aggregates, not in the same nature of the aggregates, maybe just above the aggregate, but as it itself, as a different phenomena from the aggregate. So when that is not there as well. So that also doesn't work. It's not even separate from the aggregate. So where is it? How is it? It is almost like it's not there, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
If it's neither same nature in one with the aggregates, and it is not even separate as a separate nature from the aggregate, it is almost like then that self you're looking for is not there, is it?
Yes, sir. Da, neni ba chawangi be ne, siya di on dan di le jiri. O den da be, peki chi yuanan sha de ba. Mo to peki chi, tokbe wangi sha kwa tama to ne ba. Yinba li ya, ani yuanan sha de nge ki. Ngan zin henje chi sung le nga di, rangin ji zhu yu na, rangin ji zhu yu na, dagi pungpo tang ngo jik tu zhu tang tate tu zhu. Dini kang rung ma tong rosa me ba ni, pung song ba ji ni, zawa ni me. Chi che, che na, che di yu na jik tang do ma kang rung tu yu gu. Che di yu na jik tang do ma kang rung tu yu gu. Yu gu ba yin ba la. Chi la te da che ba yin zang,
La.
chi tang ye to le, ten de ji, kuran che ba ten de ji yu ba yin zang. Chi ri che di yu na ji tang do ma gang rong de yu gu. Ani, ji so gang le, ten de ji che ba zhu di yu ba yin zang. Jera denpa yu nang, denpa tanda de re. Denpe tanda de. Kare yengo rangin ju zhube. Rangin ju zhube, denpa di yu nang, denpe ju tang tuma kang rong do yu gu. Yu gu. Yu gu ba ta chu. Tende di yu chin che pongpo tang rangin ju zhube, ju tang ta de kang rong le yu men do. Ju tang ta de yana ju tu zhugu, yana ta de tu zhugu. Kuni kang rong ju tu ma zhuba te xie yama.
No. So point is that whatever phenomena you analyze, it has, the Rinpoche, okay, apologize 1 second, I need to ask something. The Chidan dan Karundu Kasakidu Chidan ki the Choduma Sanda di Chotanche ki Chiki Chaki Rechiko di Ranshi ki Drube Ina Rebana di Ranshi ki Drube Rebana di Chidan ki Chechi di Semarba di Ranshi ki Drube Nane. So if it's something that is it is a phenomena that you look for among other phenomena, and this phenomena has the characteristic or appears to have a characteristic of being inherently existent. That means it exists on its own side, okay, on its own side. That means, as we saw before, that it is not caused, it doesn't depend on other conditions to come about, doesn't rely upon anything else but itself to be like this, okay? So that's why it has to be either one, with either one, in oneness with that particular, that we analyze now, that are the aggregates, because that is the basis for the self, right? It has to be one, either the same thing with it, or it has to be something separate. You don't have a third option. It doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. Not because we are not putting. If try to analyze whether it could exist a third option. A third option, it doesn't exist because it's either one or different. It cannot be both one and different. Okay, so that is the type of analysis that you have to go through with your reflection. If this self that is upheld by the true grasping has been inherently existent, as being that particular entity that doesn't seem to be relying upon anything else or any conditions in order to be there. In order to be there, it has to be either one with the aggregates, with body-mind aggregates, or different, not a possibility.
Pongbotan rangin ju kuwi ju tang ta de gang zhong le yue men du. Tenin ga tenin gang zhong la me chun che kwa me ba ta ju nyang du sang na.
Lama Rinpoche.
Tendeng be nga ju yo ma. Tendeng be nga ju yo nang sha ju yo ma.
Lama. Chidam tade mato.
Yo nang sha de nga de yu chin che pongbotan rangin ju kuwi ju tang ta de gang zhong le yue men du nyang du sang lu tang. Tenin gang zhong la me chun che kwa me ba ta ju nyang du sang lu tang.
So, because the point is this: while you're reflecting of that particular I or self with those characteristics, okay, we went through again and again, those characteristics. If it's there really, as it appears, if it really exists, it appears to the mind, right? So now what we're doing, we are analyzing whether that appears to the mind as in that particular way really exists in that way that appears to us or not. So if it exists the way it appears, that's where it has to be either one or different. Once you find, your analysis should be conducted in a way that the bottom line, the result of your analysis is that it is neither one with the aggregates, is not the same thing with the aggregates, is not different, and since it cannot be a third alternative, that self doesn't exist. So that is the conclusion of the meditation. You should have that kind of insight that, all right, it was there, but that self, it cannot exist, because otherwise it would be either this or that. Cetan Rinpoche de conditioner di neni pe kabla di Kyabje ne di sanutam pe kabla o di nga serna tende sudabo chiyuna pumbo da chito trinya popo tade di mato dile mehebeci mañana Dio mare di mañana di mañana di mebe ci tacho dice di ma tende sodravo ci gyune mebe ki sansam ci
Yonang sha ding.
Lao.
Yöbe nangwan sha ding.
Yobe nawa shadenge ya di sejicene yobe nawa shadenge mevece. Mevece diki di tegu betatu tawa dire vero. Cesa di
Yonang sha
di neshi nane neni per varmi. Neni pe kabla di yanda petawa ci di shagoer vero. So now I was asking Rinpoche, be so kind to. So if when you are meditating the second of these points, right, the point of pervasion, and you're analyzing whether that self that still appears to the mind has been inherently existent. That is the way it appears to the mind, whether it is one, whether it is the same or is different. So if you through your analysis based on the second point, you find that that self, although appears, really that you reach the conclusion that doesn't exist, is not there, whether that is the Prasangika view of the selfness that we're seeking for, and Rinpoche say yes. So that is at this point, at this second point, I ask also. So then at this second point, if the analysis is correct, is conducted correctly, the view should dawn on the mind and say yes. So, and these points should be. It is not enough to reach the right conclusion once or twice, or do. And this is an analysis that should be conducted on a daily basis, constantly sustained over a period of time until it roots. It takes upon it roots in the mind and is stable and it is stabilized.
Randang Pumboni Pombo Sidu, Soja Pombo Pombo Duchi, Pombo Duchi, Namba Hive Pombo Yar.
No.
Randang Pumboni Nang Su de Lia. Nang Su de Tundin Truby Chigina Tadi Chigina Lola Tade to Nangju Mabatan, you Tade damage Yingu. That was one.
No, di un'azienda di Pumbognichi, di cittugine,
Gauchi Nepsu set up there, sorry. Ladan Pumboni, Dan Sedu, Dandirva. Ladan Pumboni, Namsu de Tedar Tundendo, Tundini Chigdo Trubi, Miss Tundendo, Tundini Trubi Chigina, Lola Tade to Nanju Mavatan, Lola Tade to Nanju Yoramati.
No.
Ngata, Kari Yango, Pumboni, Lolia Tade Nanju Yorama. Zuji Pombo Soy, Pombo Duji, Pombo Duji, Pombo Nambashi, Pombo Tachin, Nayorama. On data, Annie, Narangi Jutubani, on deso, Tade to Nanju Yorama. Chigina Tade to Nayama.
So,
Tade to Nambi Jundos.
Now we have the third point. The key point of determining the self cannot be identical or one with the aggregates. Can it be truly identical with the aggregates? So again, at this point, at this third point, first you should again bring about the aspect in the mind, the aspect of the I of the self, as we explained yesterday. Okay, so because is that particular phenomenon you're analyzing. So if that self is inherently existent and is in one with the aggregates, okay, so that everything becomes inherently existent, self aggregates as one thing, then since the aggregates are 5, you will not be able to posit them as different while it is, because for instance, even if you just check the body and the mind, they are 2 separate phenomena. Yet, if the I was one with the 5 aggregates, it would be just a nucleus, right? Impossible to to make them distinct as they actually are. Okay?
Nan tende yana chik rangin ju tubi chik to cho yu na rangin ju tubi chik to cho yu na rang tang rangi phumbo ni rangi phumbo nga chik to cho yu na ani yewa tate teme ji yin gu yewa tate ba ji ma yin ba ka ju yin na ji ba yin gu dos tende yin na da ki lam ba de dang da men dos da ki lam ba de dang da men dos ga re re sa na ani phumbo de da yin zang da de ji tu chu de yue zang ani
phumbo nga me ba so
phumbo nga bo de da ni de ngo ji ba re du yu du ani da gi phumbo se du phumbo hi jue be chana phumbo da gi da se go ya o den de cha ge to so yeah.
It's getting hard. Tama di
phumbo tang
da phumbo da ki da sana de ripati kandes vegere
ne den der ba ba dang rang dang rang dang phumbo ni nang chu tar den den ne tu bi ji gi na rang gin ju be da dang le da den den ju tu bi ji gi na ji gi na lo la ta de de nang ju ndo was lo la ta de de nang ju yu dang ani
dadam phumbo ni no do se
ndo was tende yemba yenta da ki lamba demen don do res
this something passion
da ki ji ne da
which say is probably getting it now. No, just to say this section. If so let's go through the analysis as before. Now the self, this particular self that is posited as being inherently existent, okay, therefore to be inherently existent it has to possess all those possible characteristics as we've seen before. So you bring it up again, and then you check whether if this self, this I, it is one with aggregates, mind and body, feeling, recognitions, and so forth. If is and form and so forth. If is one, then there should be no need to posit them are different. This is the self and this is the aggregates to begin with. And yet you would not be able, if that was the case, you would not be able to see instances of the self that is definitely not the aggregates, as it actually happens. Therefore, such a self, again, even under these circumstances, as being in one, just the same thing of the aggregates, cannot exist. Okay, to this point, which I went over more, but now I was going through. Yeah, no. Has it improved?
Trasus. Oh, yeah. Oh, then Tende yana dagi phumbo ki jwe chana phumbo zigu ro chikin dos 아니 다게 다스니 어디에서 그런도스 권이 찍어 줘야나 다게 다다 다게 풍부 풍부 풍부스니 어디에 시고야기 내용도 송래.
Okay, so then the result if that was the case, that the self and the aggregates would exist in that way as being in oneness, or like the same thing, then as before, you wouldn't be able to posit the two of them as different, as like self, or calling something the self, or calling something the aggregates, or you will be calling the self of the self, or the aggregates of the aggregates, or the self of the aggregates, or the aggregates of the self.
Dagi dada.
This one.
Dagi pombo ye jebe tsana, pombo pombo da. Dagi daji jebada. Jebada chemendo jebe. Dada dagi pombo ye soso joba demendo juno
Now, so here in the text says, however, if the self and the aggregates were identical in a truly existent sense, there will be no need to posit the existence of a self. Okay? We found that out, right? How it works. Thus, the expression aggregates of the self will be equivalent to saying aggregates of the aggregates, or self of the self. That means there will be no purpose whatsoever in positing a self as something distinct from the aggregates, because, just go back, if a true inherently existent self exists as being one with the aggregates, they're both identical, right? They're both the same thing. So it is totally meaningless to label them as different phenomena.
Dendesuma. Desamase, da Pumbotan Chigina, da Pumbota Chigina, da Pumbota Chigina. Pumbolia, you have a nine, Daja, Nanjuvi, and also. Da Pumbota Chigina, Pumboling, Pumbonga, you have a nine, Dia, Nanju.
And since, and moreover, the aggregates are 5, right? So if there was a self that is inherently existent as the same thing with the aggregates, you should be able to posit 5 selves as well, as for the aggregates are 5. Shina Jaba Joya Dang Guru Ramana Nirya Daya
On did Dema the top Pumbota Chigina Pumbonga Yuva Yendo Dajang on Juvi Pianta. Yana da Chile Naba Tab and da Chile Naba Tar Pombo Yang Nami Taba Chito Tabipian. Da Pombo Nga Yin Yendo Ma Yin at Nyatan Jo Tenebipian. What did a young be? Shanson. The Tadia.
Tangi Tanganas sono di Sumpare vari invece. Nessun bebe.
Re, nessun bebe. Tima zesa, da Pumbota Chigina, da Pumbota Chigina, Pumboli Yanga Yorma, Pumbonga Yova, Nankin, Daja Ngan Juvi, Jen till the Chipabia. Yana, da Chigle never tar. Dancing in the Chimato Yama, Chimato Navatar Pombo Yang Meteba, Meteba, Chito Tabica.
No.
Da Pombo Nga Yin Yin do Ma Yin Nga do Nyan Sang Jo Duen Me Bi Jua. Dindere.
So,
Dire, Maradogi, Loli Shayadi, Damatubagi, Nachi Shadi, Damatuba. One day you are married. Dendu.
so again, to review this point, so if the self, if there was an inherently existent self as being one with the aggregates, then you would not be able to posit 5 aggregates then, because the self is one, or the aggregates will be one as much as the self. So, and also that is impossible. In conclusion, the point is that that particular self, a self that although appears to be as such inherently existent, and therefore if is such it should be this way or in that way, one or different. Since that is impossible, that particular self as being inherently existent doesn't exist at all. So that is the conclusion of this again.
Yore te yulu ten dragmare, Damba Truve Ngadi Mare. Tanta Damba Truve Ngadi Deta, Iwa Macha Vajane, Koni Nyamto Nyamto Tanti. Nothing is your indeed you don't the candidates, no? Toby Wangi, Yavatan. And the regular 10 and Toby Wangi, Yavatan, giving Aji Yore. Indeed, Ngadi. Yore. Delta Mayimba, Toby Wangi, Yavatan Mayimba, not to trouble. Not to trouble, not linging one trouble. I think ranking to trouble. Oh, tended not the you are not the tended shot.
So again, what are we doing here? What we're doing is that there is a self, or I, or normally we call I, the sin that is perceived, the way is of his appearance is that of being inherently existent. So that I doesn't exist, because if it existed and we analyzed if for that particular I to really exist in the same way as it appears to us. So here there are two things, all right? There is an I, and there is the way in which this I appears to our consciousness, or appears to us, okay? So that particular appearance of an I that is inherently existent, it is not there. So that phenomena cannot be there. It doesn't exist, something like that. So it's kind of hallucinated. It is not there. That doesn't mean that there is no I. There is a mere I. There is an I, and yet the way in which we perceive this I contradicts the way in which the I actually exists. So there is a dichotomy on the way in which the I exists and the way in which the I appears to exist. All right? So therefore, if that I, the way in which appears to exist, to be inherently there from its own side, which is said from its coming from its own side, inherently from its own side, that is totally non-existent, and yet it appears to be existing. So what exists, the I do exist, but it exists as being only a label of the mind on the basis of the aggregates, not in any other way, not in the way that appears to us, not in the way that appears to the mind as being inherently existent, but is just a label. So to exist, it depends it depends on the mind that labels that particular I on the basis of the aggregates. And that is the only way in which the I actually exists. Yet, the way in which the I appears to the mind is as inherently from his own side, not labeled by the mind. So, okay, Rinpoche said, therefore, the inherently existent I appears to our mind as being totally not merely labeled by the mind, but being on his own, from his own side. No. So this is just to find the boundaries, the extremes of the boundaries of existence for the I. Okay?
Nga lu tang ngo rangin chik yin ye na nga zuji phombo tang zuji phombo sene mendo nga lu tang ngo rangin chik yin na kyun kar yore sena ani shive wo to rangi lu de me su tang girwa mera tang girwa mera tang de kable nga ya nyam to.
So again, let's see whether this, again, we're still analyzing whether that particular inherently existent I that appears to the mind exists in the same really as we perceive it. So let's say if the I is in oneness, is the same as one of the aggregates. Say, somebody can say the I is the form aggregate. It means the body, like the body itself. So that's the form aggregate. Mm-hmm. So what happens if the form aggregate and the I are the same thing? When something dramatically happens to the body, it should happen to the I as well. Let's say when we die and the body is cremated, the I is cremated along the body, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 대삼도 마세 아니 제와 치마리야 냥상조 양도 라 제와 치마리야 냥상조 양도 르장 냥상조베 아니 냥상조 조베 조원조베 죄요 냥상 파마리야
no
대전도 면도
lurba
루
Or it would be that the other, again, if the I was the same as the form body, and here in the text, just as the self or the I is reborn during the conception in the next life, the previous life body that was the same thing as the I, right? So then it would follow that the previous life body also takes the new rebirth at the time of conception for the next one.
Nga simda jikwa yena, da lu si nyingi nani, lu tin lu suwa. Da simda jikwa yena, kyun kari yari suna. Ani, simli ya, ani, 차야도 또야도 근데 그거 또야도 아니 누구 차야가 저거 근데 가게 야마로 근데 내가 인상 선을 차도서 민중에 나리야 차도 좀 메시지죠 아니 차단다 지공로서 근데 민중에 나리야 아니지 차단다 제공소 anga yongwe kabliya nga chagdo nga togodo sewa metebika.
So on the other hand, if the I was the same as the mind and I were the same, So generally speaking, the mind doesn't experience the thing of the body. Let's say, be it hunger, thirst, or cold or hot, and so forth. And yet we say, I am cold, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, and so on and so forth. That would be totally unsuitable.
Yang ngā lū sē nying tāng jīg yin na, ngā yu lū tāng ngā yu sēn sē chē kī tā chē kū sō sō jō bā tō mē bī chū. Tēnē yōng chū.
Yeah, and in the same way, if the I is the same as the combination of body and mind, then it would be unsuitable to make difference among these, among the I, among the mind, and among the body, because they would be the same thing. So it would be totally unsuitable to talk about my mind or to talk about my body, to make this kind of difference, because I, body, and mind were being the same thing.
Da tang pungpo ni rangun ni zhubi jik yin na, yu du da cha tamye ni jikwa, ndrabu ji yungu yao rwa. Yu du da cha tamye ni jikwa, yin guwa yin za, ane zawa shira le, ane jun cha chenpo song yao rwa. Ka de pungpo da yin na, je dan jikwa jan don ju rwa. 홍보를 야 전지 아니 제외 동행다 직위 동행라서 된대 용한 난신 너수로서 안다 제가 나치서는 되기 제가 나치기 동행 용배 겁래 아니 나리 용비요 나리 용비요 아니 전 온도서요.
So moreover, again, if the I and the aggregates, the five aggregates, were the same thing, were in just one single thing, it means that would be all the sameness of the circumstances regarding place, time, and so on and so forth would be just the same for all of them, because of being the same thing. And here Nagarjuna, in the Fundamental Wisdom, says if the self, the I, were the aggregates, it will arise and pass away along with the aggregates.
어딘데 임바이나 아니 조지 풍부가치 윤체의 최지 현직 교화의 인지과 어딘데 제대 겁래 다자 윤체의 최 다자 윤체의 최도 아니지 현직 개발탑이 준소 안내제 마무리 법용이야.
Because since the collection of the aggregates, it's a continuity of constant change in destruction. That means that if mind, aggregate, and I were the same thing, they would be the same for all of them at the same time, in the same place.
Mm-hmm. 어딘데 봐 용이야. 근데 연상녀제 마고지 봐 용도 다다 풍봉하다 랑긴주도 지도 돌로시 때내 면도 냠도 내가 많이 그 바로 공제.
So therefore, again, as before, this particular topic should be analyzed, reflect, and meditate upon until the mind develops a stable insight that the I cannot be inherently existent same in the aggregates as the aggregates. Here the text says, when contemplation of these errors enables us to reach a sure and certain understanding that the self, that means the I, cannot be one with the five aggregates in a truly existence. I cannot be truly existent one with the five aggregates. That is, you have gained the realization of this third point. So the fourth point is that the important point or the key point of determining that the self cannot be inherently or truly existent, distinct from the aggregates. So now, this point, having analyzed the three previous points, the only option that is left there for an inherently existent I to exist, just as it appears to the mind, is that being inherently existent, different, separate from the aggregates. So if that was the case, just as you can easily pinpoint the five aggregates, aggregate of form, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and so forth, just as the way you can distinct that, then on the top of that you should also be able to make a clear distinction of what is the I.
다랑게 폼볼이야 제가 나치 중앙 예나야 아니 달에 제가 나치서 민중하다 폼볼라 팬에 팬에 달라 팬에 내번줘서 지된지 타녀 두만다 안겨서 뇌제 망도 중외 나 폼보다 랑긴지 주베 타대도 내 타셔리 냠도 내가 많이 봐도 공작
So again there will be lots of contradictions arising if that was true the way it appears to us to be. If it was really true, it would be lots of contradictions. One of it would be that again the I as well as the aggregates, they go through the process of birth, aging, death, and so forth, and momentary disintegration and so forth. That should be also true for the I, for instance, and so on. There are lots of established conventionalities that will be totally contradicting what this way of existence.
아니 지도에 마주 타대도에 마주 견제 연상 난진 현재지 현유 단다 편견이야 아니 ngata nga siyaji, ngata nga siyaji, danda penchuli, mig tongju da lagbi zungju yaba tabi, ani shing bote, da mindu nyanto tong changi songana, ani tong changi songne, neba hangi nyaba na ome tawa nyaba.
Therefore, once you've gone through all this analysis, this process of meditation, and you've found that in each and every of these possibilities, that the possibilities underline the inherent existence of the I, that is, the way in which the I appears to our mind. Once you have gone through these possibilities and understood, you have grasped that it cannot be any of them, it cannot be any of them, that means you find that that particular I, inherently existing I as itself, as it appears to the mind, it totally doesn't exist. It is totally not there. Appears but is total hallucination, totally not there, totally doesn't exist. So when that kind of vacuity of being not there, suddenly you have seen that it's not there. So that, just that, without any further elaboration, that is the selflessness of person, that is the emptiness of the I. When we talk about emptiness, that is the Prasangika view on this subject.
On the Danda Timaji Laviana, Nantin Henji Yen Yu, Danda Penchenia, Mig Tongju Dan Labi Zungju Yabatabu, Shing Bote, Dan Mendo, Nyanto Tong Changi, Sonia Nebal Hangi, Nevana, Umentawanya.
So when during this analytical process of establishing the existence of the inherently existent I, that is that particular simultaneously born self-grasping that we were talking about yesterday, that particular connotation. Upon analysis, that particular I that is there as an entity on its own, that is almost palpable, almost reachable, graspable with your hands, is almost visible with your eyes. It's just this entity on its own. It is totally not there. It just definitely doesn't exist. It cannot exist. So when that break of continuity of that particular existence is broken down and there's this vacuity, so that is the ultimate view of Prasangika on the selflessness of person, on this particular simultaneously born self-grasping.
Di Tana, Ani Wambo Hajang Novo, Ani Gomba Chava, the Solia, Ani Tendeji Nevi Gablia, Ani Hajang Chivo Yuvi, Norji, Ani Niaba Debu, Ani Gananju.
So there are different individuals meditating the same subject, and because different predispositions having different results and experience in their meditation. In this particular analysis, if a person with great of very sharp faculties, that means with a great deal of merit, analyzing emptiness in this way, finds this point of this precise, subtle point of non-existent, the direct experience, it will be like the happiness of having found an incredible treasure. Like there is a sudden blast of happiness, of joy, of having been able to recognize this. And for those for individual of less merits, what happens is that at the point of when that particular appearance of that inherent resistant I disappears, it is almost like a frightful experience. Frightening.
아니 양 땡아 장관라마 동가바 쳔데 서라 추딩스 서라가 튀어들이야 추딩스니 아 유네바 게 도강지요 어 네게 튀들이야 휴티 전부지요 네가 아들이 쇼네 버루 되면서 막 아자 소리야 아니 고마 피는 근데 피비 겁니 딘데 TV cấp hiệu 리야 아니 예시를 쓴게 효요래 이게 냥도 라겐지 진주로 지어다 예시를 쓴게 저수제 근데 예시를 쓴게 효요래 아니 데숨바다가 냐발 한기 지아바다가 아니 오메다와 냐발을 손데 오메다와 냐네 콩암라제 남자전에 가진 되잖아 봐. 근데 정각이 공원대 송전에 공원대 간데 무슨 쇼디요. 아니 여러분 제가 쓰네. 아니 토니하고 전에. 토니하고 전에. 아니 여러분 제가 내 손도가 아니 토하장 기호종이 나탄데 군도대 공원을 샤도 왔어 나탄 맞는 공통유대 나탄데 군도대 공원을 샤도 왔어 시험쇼되는 소문이다 언제로지 요래
So, like there are instances, for instance, when at the time of the Gentle Protector, Rinpoche, in Tibet, just nearby Sera, there was a particular structure where every once in a while Rinpoche would sit there along with many, like more than 500 great scholars and realized beings, and it will explain Madhyamika. It will explain this philosophy. So one time, sitting in front of Rinpoche, among the other learned ones, there was this Sherab Sangye that later on is the founder of the Human Tantric College. And Sherab Sangye was probably, he looked like a curved old monk, really like sort of like, really, or just totally ordinary old monk. And while Rinpoche was explaining these points of recognizing the object of negation, right then, the view of Prasangika dawned in Sherab Sangye's mind, and the immediate experience of breaking through this I that is always there, recognizing that it is not there. It appeared to be just to be frightened, to the point that he was kind of listening to the teachings and meditating, and suddenly sort of he jumped up and he took the hold of the sleeve of his tonka, of the monk's robe, like sort of as a, holding on sort of that particular reality. So, and Rinpoche was totally pleased. He understood that Sherab Sangye had really got the correct view, and he sort of expressed sort of like, I don't know if the exact quotation is here or not.
Here on page 289, but it's not translated. It says,
Page?
Page 289, second paragraph down, it says, the one from Nartang has placed something that is conventionally existent on his collar. I think it should say, the one from Nartang has posited conventionality on with respect to his collar.
Where is it?
The second 289,
Uh-huh.
the second paragraph down.
The one from Nartan has placed something that is conventionally existent on his collar. Nartan
나타인데 공도대 공원이 샤도 가서 공원 정가고 공원.
So it will be the one from Nartan, Nartampe, Shersengebor from Nartan is a place in central Tibet, and has found the convention on his tongue.
아니 걔야 근데 여기 선소 문주 약속이 때문에 근데 마부 정사.
No.
근데 마부 정사. 아니 나냐마 근데 다람살에 대두 아니 아니 곤돌이야 양수 자고 그래. 근데 인도 아니 냐마지 파도 직 송데 아니 이셔너베 바와디 오모 공부랍세기 랍제가 쓰이나 당에 토제피아요.
No.
근데 지금 걸리니야. 어디도 근데 그 선도 지종샤.
And this experiences have happened to so many people, especially like even basically almost contemporary at the time of Muchu Dharmabhadra, and spiritual science is a very important Lama of Tibet, contemporary. So that is not just this is one instance of Sherasanga. And actually, when I was in Dharamsala, when I was living in Dharamsala, and like I had the chance of seeing His Holiness Dalai Lama very often. You know, I had work to do. I had to see him and to talk to him. And one day, he was sort of discussing with me his understanding of emptiness and where he found it. There is a particular verse that I also wrote down in the Umagomparapsel, this commentary on Madhyamika, that His Holiness Dalai Lama, while reading it, he showed the aspect of having achieved this particular understanding with a very similar experience as what we are talking now.
된데 가만 보지 송버려. 송도 아니 아니 양다 대바배 쳐도 아니 상면 남다지 나랑기 강 현실 직접 좀 쉬빈데 담보 시시 남아송 아니 효래 안디그레 송게 아니 이제 토지 점니 샤샤유.
No, and that was a time where I had lots of discussions on this topic, on His Holiness Dalai Lama's own experience of development in meditation, and so anyway, I was so inspired by His Holiness telling me these things that I asked him, I told him, just for us and everybody else, benefit in order for faith to be established, if Your Holiness could recount the secret biography in Tibetan. When you say Sangwan Nantar, it means like there's the normal biography that is perceivable by everybody, and there is also the experience in the mind of the Lama. So that's called the secret biography. At the beginning, His Holiness didn't accept it. Then after a while, he said, "Okay, let's do it." He said, "Okay." So Rinpoche he said that he took down lots of notes. There is nothing in the form of a book or something, but Rinpoche said, "I still have all the notes on His Holiness secret biography."
단답 편답 소리 스케 맞아. 아니 저기 참내는 참내로 스케. 아니 다 로지로니 뭐시나 아니 지소 온 something.
And so I didn't really do any actual work on it, especially because after that it became the period where I had to go up and I had to go down, I had to go here and I had to go there. So things really, those kind of things didn't get done. And now, if I have still 1 or 2 years of life left, I hope to be able to put it together. And I'm thinking, why don't we stop here for today? Sapegewa de tendan roa kunagam penda, Kyabje jetsun nozan traba, Tembe nyumborindu.